Hello everybody, my name is Zul and welcome to Modding Dragon Age Origins. Today we're going to be looking at a mod that adds a ton of new specializations to the game. If you look at the screen right now, the number is absolutely huge. There's also two brand new classes that are added into the game, the Warlock and the Ritualist, two magic type classes that add a lot to the game. So, these new specializations are added to all the different classes, as you can see here. They each have their own specialties and abilities, and you can gain these by getting certain amounts of attributes. For example, if you would like to become an arcane archer, you'd need to be a warrior with 30 dexterity, 20 magic, and have bow specialization. This will allow you to take that specialization and improve your archery abilities. This creates new options for new classes, as you're able to do a bit of magic stuff as a warrior, that kind of thing. And with the new Warlock class, there's an incredibly hybrid melee spellcaster class available for those of you who like playing a character like that. And the mage, of course, has the dagger spell, which allows you to use attacks and daggers, which again is another hybrid way of playing the game. So all in all, I think this mod is awesome. This mod's a bit hard to cover though, because of the huge number of different character classes. So what I've done is I've filmed several little clips of me checking out each of the classes and their specializations. So without further ado, I'm going to run all of these clips in order now, and then we're going to talk about installation. As we can see here, I am a warrior right now, and there is quite a few different specializations. There's the 4 default ones, then there's the Bladesinger, Arcane Archer, Tempest, Blackguard, Swordmaster, Invisible Blade, Elemental Archer, and Duskblade. Now each of these is unlocked in a different way, so you gotta be careful with that. For example, if I would like to unlock the Arcane Archer, I would need 30 dexterity, which I definitely don't have, so we'll click next, and I would need the bow specialization. So let's see, where is the bow specialization? I'm not quite sure. Weapon focus bow, weapon specialization bow. So that's where I need to go. So let's run a script and add a bit more experience to my character here, and continue to level up and get the correct needed statistics. There is documentation for all of these in the text files that come with it, so you don't need to worry about that. And basically, you need a different combination of skills and attributes to actually get things. For example, the Blackguard can be got with a Warlock with 30 willpower, poison mastery, and weapon focus. And the Dread Warlock, energy resistance, utter darkness, bewitching, or binding, and 1 mastered investiture talent. So it's all a little bit different, but we're gonna get 30 dexterity and 20 magic. I believe that's all I need. So can I invest in it right now? Actually, I don't think so. So we're just gonna finish that. We'll get Master of Arms, and as we can see, Arcane Archer is now an option. So I can now become the Arcane Archer. Hit next. I'll just sort of put these points into whatever I feel like. And we now have access to the Arcane Archer line, which includes enhanced arrows, that kind of thing. So if you ever wanted to be an archer as a warrior, you now have a much better way of doing it. And like I said, it's the same for all of the different classes. Now let's take a look at some of the other options for the other classes. Alright, here I am as a mage, and as we can see, there is a ton of different specialities. Besides the basics of Arcane Warrior, Blood Mage, and Spirit Healer, you can also become a Dagger Spell, which is a spell dagger user, kind of like a spell rogue. A Dagger Spell Shaper, which I guess is different somehow. Blend of... Oh, you use Shapeshifter magic as well as dagger fighting. The Swift Blade, which is about haste. And the Archmage, which is one about pure spell casting. Now, the Archmage requires arcane mastery and a spell from each school, so I'm gonna pump up my magic and see if I can get the Archmage really quickly here. As we can see here, this mod also adds, I believe it's the one that adds these melt lock spells, but I'm not 100% sure. I could be just crazy here. But let's see, so we have a primal, a creation, a spirit, an entropy. And what else did I need for the Archmage? Arcane Mastery, which is this last one, which means I need to be at least level 10. So let's run the console again. We'll add myself a couple of levels. Click next. Next. We'll unlock that. We'll make sure that we have it from each spell school. I think that's it. Oh, one spell mastered from each spell school. I see. Can I master anything? No, let's get my magic up. Sorry about this, everybody. I'll cut to when I actually have this done. There we are. So as we can see, I now have the Archmage. Now this is clearly a end-game, high-level specialization. It's not meant to be taken early, because you need to have mastered a lot of spells. So if we take a look down here... Ooh, what the heck just happened? Next, and next. Let me just... There we go. Next, and next. There we are. We can see the Archmage power. So, I can have Arcane Fire, Elemental Mastery, Mastery of Counterspells, and Master of Shaping. So, these are extremely powerful spells. So, again, you could select whatever kind of character you want, and there's a lot more. Now let's take a look at the Rogue. The Rogue has a lot of available specializations. You can be a Blade Singer, which is sort of a magic bard kind of thing. The Dagger Spellcaster, again, the Arcane Archer. The Tempest, which is shared with the Warrior. The Elemental Archer, the Invisible Blade, which is like really high pure assassin. The Black Flame Zealot, which is I believe a willpower kind of guy. Whirling Dervish. So there's quite a few options here. Let us select one to be. How about... Alright, here we are with the Mastery of Poisons, 20 willpower, and a mace focus. I now have access to the Black Flame Zealot. So let's take a look at that one. As we can see, I focus on using poisons. So these are like some sort of secret assassins that probably use a little bit of magic. Yes, see, I can command fire into my weapons. And I also have a touch ability to instantly kill a wounded target. So I think that that's a really awesome and powerful class. And speaking of classes, there's actually 2 added by this game. So let's take a look at those now. Although the Warlock is a mage in origin, it's not really a mage. It's a melee combat, magic buff-focused character, kind of similar to a way that the Arcane Warrior sort of works, but more focusing on heavy armor, using their heinous blow and their investments to buff themselves while firing off a few Idrit's Blast while waiting for their abilities to recharge. These classes are based on disabling and destroying attackers. They can attack ranged attackers with some spells, but they mostly focus on buffing themselves and using close-range melee spells. They have a lot of specializations as well. They have the Idrit's Disciple, which is health regeneration. The Idrit's Warrior, which is really focused on melee. They can be Reavers. You can be the Hellfire Warlock, as we can see here. So that's actually available to be taken. So we'll take a look at that, and we'll take a look at this one now. You can be the Blackguard. You can be the Hex Blade, which is focused on resistances and debuffs. The Dusk Blade, and the Dread Warlock. Each of these has their own little unique things that you need to have to unlock them. This is a class that actually uses strength for your equipment requirements. It uses magic for its high-level abilities, but again, you are going to be focusing a lot on melee. The unique feature of this class is the ability to use any armor. At level 10, you can use all the rogue-specific pieces of equipment in the game, and at level 20, you can use all the warrior-specific equipment in the game. So let's take a look at all the different spells, starting with the specializations. The Hellfire Warlock transforms your Eldritch Blasts into Hellfire Blasts, making you totally fire-powered, and it gives you the ability to summon Demon. The Eldritch Disciple actually allows you to bind and heal people, so you can actually be a healer as this class. You are a melee-focused class, and you can actually focus on touch attacks, which will increase your Eldritch Blast, which is your primary spell, or you can focus on a weapon, which is going to be used with your Hideous Blow. Your Eldritch Blast is your natural ability. It's a touch attack, but it doesn't do any damage. You have to buff it up with an Eldritch Essence. So if we look here, I'll give you a show of that before. You can also use investments to buff yourself up. There's also invocations, which are your actual spells. You can use these to fight people at the range or debuff your opponents. And then, of course, you get the utility of melting and destroying locks and such. So we'll take a look here. So this is your Eldritch Blast. Now, you actually have to buff yourself up with an element to do it. So as we can see, my Beshadowed Blast is now what I would use if I used my Eldritch Blast. If I switch over to Brimstone Blast, we will see that it now does fire damage. But as we can see, it's reserving a portion of my mana. So I could potentially really buff it out. You can have 2 at a time, but... And then this is what will be invested into this ability. Now, I also use the Hideous Blow, which is my primary attack. And I have a lot of buffs to improve myself. So that's what this class is based around, and you're going to be doing a lot of melee and heavy armor. I just used a console command to become this class, but you do start with the Mage Origin. And you essentially are a very powerful hybrid class when you play as the Warlock. But there's another class that's been added by this mod, and that's the Ritualist, so we're going to take a look at that next. The Ritualist is a class that actually uses cunning to fuel its spells. It uses offensive and defensive elemental and thaumaturge spells to do damage and disable its opponents. It's based off of the Masquerade Thaumaturgy in Vampires the Masquerade. Sorry about that. So if you've ever played that game, you'll sort of have a familiarity to it. You also get something called the replication spells, which actually allow you to replicate a spell that's attacked you based on a cunning chance. So if your character is very clever, he will learn the spell used against him and temporarily be able to use that back against the enemy. It's a bit of a complicated thing, and there's some documentation in the books, but let's take a look at its specializations. You can be a primal spellcaster, a creation spellcaster, a spirit spellcrafter, an entropy spellcrafter. You can then focus all of these in replication. So I can duplicate primal spells, I can duplicate creation spells, I can replicate... You understand the point I'm making here. But let's just sort of bump up a bunch of my abilities and my cunning. And take a look at some of the spells. So the first thing that I get is my Mystic Charge. This is my only primary ability, which extends my conjuration time in order to cast spells at full power. I get Elementalism, which is mostly just damaging abilities. The rituals down here at the bottom allow me to use auras, ward against things, cause fear, and debuff my enemies. I again get the Melt Lock spells here, but the Thaumaturgies are actually probably the most interesting part of these classes. So they're not just debuffs and buffs. As we can see, this one is actually an offensive spell that increases armor, turns the weapon useless, freezes a target in place, and vaporizes them. So that's just something to keep in mind. Spirit Crush basically just does damage and debuffs them by their willpower. And Vertigo is again a debuff. The defensive spells reduce your attack weight. So you're very much a utility mage. You can conjure stuff, so that is what you're going to be using to fight. But essentially, You're going to be mostly a support mage through and through. As always, we are going to now look at the installation for this mod. So the Dragon Age class and Specialization pack uses DA-zip and overwrite files depending on the compatibility. First thing we're going to do is take a look at what is incompatible with this mod. And it says here that it does not work with the Weapon Master mod, as well as a couple of other mods, and it does work with the Spirit Eater class. So, you know, if you want to use that, go ahead. Head over to the files section, and there will be a main file and 2 optional files, and we are going to download the main file. Here we are. Sorry, I was having a little bit of an issue loading the page, but as we can see, the main file is what we want. There is a source file and all sorts of stuff, but we're not interested in any of that. Just download this manually. I've already actually done so as we can see here, I have the class specialization pack, and I've extracted it. So let's open it up, and as we can see, there's a DA-zip, some compatibility files. So there's compatibility for Awakening in the OC. We're just going to look at the Awakening files, and these are what goes in the override. So we're going to move this over to this side of the screen and start getting to work. First thing we're going to do is go to our DA modder. Wherever you have DA modder installed, open it up. We're then going to take the CS pack, drag and drop, and it will take a little while to add the mod. But once that's done, you should be good to go, and we're just going to have to head over to the override file while that's installing. So your override file for Dragon Age is always going to be in My Documents, BioWare, Dragon Age. Sorry about that. Packages, core, override. And we're going to take the Awakening files and we're just going to drop them in right there. Now, if you have any of these other mods, you can drop those in there. There's some installation instructions. There is also a bunch of text files here that I would recommend you take a look at, including some information about some of the new classes. So if you were interested in that, check that out. But as far as we are concerned, we are done. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the mod spotlight that we did today. And yada da da da. Alright everybody, thanks very much for watching and making it this far into the video. I know it's been a long one, so I'm going to try and wrap it up super fast. Thank you. Thumbs up, thumbs down the video, depending on your opinion. If you like the mod, go check it out. Consider subscribing, please. It really helps. If you've made it this far into the video, leave a comment down below, and I will thank you in my next Zol report. For sure, because this has been a long one. It's a really awesome mod though, so check it out. If you'd like, consider checking out my Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Let's Play. It's pretty good, actually. And I could always use more people watching it. So thank you very much. I have been Zol. Have an excellent day. Sorry for taking up so much time of your day, though. I'm sorry. I've been Zol. Bye.